And, Peter, Patrick Mahomes had kind of become the forgotten man this year because of Lamar Jackson and the San Francisco 49ers. And he had the ankle injury in week 1, which affected his mobility. He had the knee injury that looked extremely serious at the time. When he came back from it, he wasn't the guy he was last year. And kind of quietly, without us really paying a lot of attention, he became the guy he was last year, and that guy's been back for the playoffs, and he is definitely back for the Super Bowl, and it's been kind of a strange development that we went to sleep on the Chiefs, the team that we all pegged going into the season as a Super Bowl favorite.
Mike, I think one of the really interesting things about this game is that for the first time since I've been watching him play, he showed the kind of emotion that he's been sort of a cool character. And we just showed the video of him leaping up and down and jumping up and down. You saw him in the end zone when Demarcus Robinson was doing this to him and saying, "We are not worthy," essentially. And you saw the kind of emotion, and you saw what this meant to him. And talking to the Chiefs afterwards, talking to Andy Reid, one of the things that I divine from all these people is that Patrick Mahomes has now become the kind of leader on this team that Andy Reid can basically just put on automatic pilot. And that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but he knows every time that Mahomes takes a snap that he is going to do exactly what Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Frank Kafka want him to do. And that is a very comfortable feeling for the Chiefs as an offensive staff.
And one thing that really has blossomed in the postseason, although it doesn't say much for the team's running backs, the fact that Patrick Mahomes is leading the Chiefs in rushing because, as Andy Reid explained earlier this week, he recognizes that the defensive backs and the linebackers are so obsessed with stopping the receivers and tight end Travis Kelce that it's creating these running lanes. And Patrick Mahomes' attitude is, screw it, I'll just run. And we've seen that athleticism, that ability to stay in bounds. The full body fake, which was primarily a head fake, but the more I watch that thing, the more beautiful it is, that sprung that 27-yard touchdown run that put the Chiefs ahead on Sunday. He will run, and you better account for that as you're trying to slow down Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, and the rest of their weapons, Peter.
Well, the interesting thing on this play that you're seeing, which is the run of his life, college or pro, the interesting thing about that, as both he and Reid talked about after the game, is that Patrick Mahomes had two guys double covered on that play. Now, they are used to having either Kelce or Tyreek Hill, very occasionally Sammy Watkins, but Kelce or Tyreek Hill doubled. On this particular play, both were. So imagine you have Tyreek Hill, Jason Kelce doubled, and you're being spied, okay, by Rashaan Evans. So now, in the mind of Patrick Mahomes, what he is thinking is that, okay, I got three or four guys on my defensive front. And he said, if I've got four guys in coverage on two receivers, I'm going to have a lot of space to go do something. And that's exactly what happened on this play. He knew he had space, and he knew he had 2 timeouts left. This is, to me, next level thinking by a quarterback who, in my mind, right now is the most dangerous player in the playoffs.
And that 27-yard touchdown run, during which I think I saw Gil Brandt tweet that he ran 60 yards to gain 27.
He ran 64 yards, Mike. Yeah.
If you're going to spy him, Sims and I were talking about this yesterday, you can't spy him with Rashaan Evans. You've got to spy him with someone who has the ability to track him down and tackle him, because Evans fell for that fake and just went flailing, and that's what opened the whole thing up.
Yeah, and I think the Titans had a very good plan going in. I mean, I think Dean Pease has had a great playoff season to end his career. But I think it's a little bit unrealistic to think, with the weapons that Patrick Mahomes has and the athletic ability that Mahomes has, that you're going to be able to stop him with a linebacker as a spy. And one other thing, Mike, I think what is so cool about this particular matchup is that Mahomes is going to be chased so much and is going to have to make so many plays when he's uncomfortable, when he's out of the pocket. But Patrick Mahomes has made the uncomfortable comfortable. You know, from his no-look pass against the Ravens to last year to his incredible downfield throw when he was chased by Zadarius Smith, threw into triple coverage and completed it to Tyreek Hill. Watch how many great plays he's made when the pocket is broken down. And that's why this is going to be such a fun game. We're going to see so many of those plays because the 49ers force the pocket to get broken down.
Yeah, and it's impossible not to peek forward. I've resisted it for now. But when you project to that 49ers defense, we talked about the spy. They have more athletic linebackers than Rashaan Evans. You could put a Quan Alexander in that spy position. And also, Peter, one thing that I think we will see from the 49ers if Patrick Mahomes decides to take off as a runner, I don't think we will see that tentative quality that we see from too many defensive players who get scared of what happens if I hit the quarterback. And you know, that's in the brains of these guys, and it needs to be. If they're near the sideline, you can't blow them up. If they slide, you can't blow them up. And you can never dip your helmet and cram it into them. But some defensive players, I think, Peter, are coached far differently. Patriots defenders, Seahawks defenders, and my guess is that Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator of the 49ers, is going to spend the next 2 weeks telling his guys, if this guy runs, you go hit him. And the Titans players, especially inside the 5, I don't know what the hell those guys were doing, but they weren't hitting Patrick Mahomes. I think it'll be a different experience for him if he tries to run against the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Tremaine Brock made a stupid play at the 5-yard line, and he kept trying to strip the ball. You got to tackle him. You just got to tackle him. And too many people now in the NFL in general, I've had so many defensive coordinators over the last couple of years, like when I visit training camp and everything, I've had this pet peeve, and I'll say, why is there such an emphasis on the strip when so many running backs and quarterbacks, I mean, obviously you're going to get some of them, but you give up so many yards doing that, right? And that is, hey, look, I'm not saying the Chiefs wouldn't have scored, but I think, Mike, one of the other things that I think Robert Saleh is going to do here is he's basically going to say to his defense, you know, you're absolutely right. When he is a runner, you treat him like a runner. You don't treat him like a quarterback. You hit him, and you hit him hard.
Yeah, and you know what? At a certain level, I think that, and I want to be careful here because I'm not suggesting that they try to knock him out of the game. That's not what I'm saying. But at a certain point, you trade the risk of 15 yards if you can send a message. And football is still a physical, violent game. If you can hit him, even if it's close to the sideline, even if he's maybe started into his slide, when the championship is riding on it, I think it's a different analysis. And yeah, we may give up 15 yards or half the distance to the goal line. I mean, that's the thing, Peter. If somebody had blown up Patrick Mahomes inside the 5, okay, it goes from the 4 to the 2. Right. Big deal. So again, I'm not saying that should be part of the deliberate effort, but the Super Bowl is riding on it. And if this guy's going to think that he can just run through the defense without any physical consequence, they need to dispel him of that notion the first time he tries.
Mike, I'm now going to say a little bit counter to what I just said, because although I think Robert Saleh would be wise to do that, I think it'll have zero impact on Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback. Since he was in middle school, he has been his team's offense, basically. And he has been used to people taking shots at him all through high school, all through college. And I just don't think that's going to stop him or even deter him from playing exactly the way he wants to play. I think he's got a little bit of Gumby in him, where he's not necessarily the fastest guy, but how many times have you seen him take a huge hit? It just doesn't happen very much. He can twist his body into certain ways so that he doesn't take that big hit. I don't think he's going to change. If he gets blasted a couple of times in the first half of this game, I do not think you're going to see him starting to run out of bounds.
We've seen the Chiefs and Mahomes fall behind 24-0 against the Texans, 10-0 and then 17-7 against the Titans. What is it about Mahomes that you've seen that allows him to not get freaked out? Because plenty of quarterbacks would get freaked out when you fall that far behind. You feel like you need to get it all back in one play instead of just trusting, hey, I got this, we can do this, we'll start chopping at the tree, and the tree's eventually going to fall down.
Mike, he's the AFC's Russell Wilson. Because the one thing that I've always thought about Russell Wilson is that he never loses a game. The clock just runs out. And that's the way Mahomes is. I think he takes great delight in saying, okay, we're down 10, I'll show you. And I know that sounds high schoolish. Really, it does. But that's the way he thinks. That's the way Russell Wilson thinks. And they never think the game is over. Now, the one thing that's happened in these two games early on is that, especially on special teams against Houston, that's what is a bothersome thing about the potential of this game, in my opinion. Because I think that the 49ers, they've got an excellent punter and kickoff guy, Mitch Wishnowsky, and they've also got potentially good return guys. And I would be, even though Dave Toub is a great special teams coach for Kansas City, I would be very concerned that their special teams in San Francisco, that they believe that they can get an edge in this game and get an early lead. We'll see how that goes, but my feeling is that that's going to be, against San Francisco with that pass rush, you don't want to get down double digits early.
Especially when they have that running game, that meat grinder of a running game, which will be working if the 49ers establish that lead. I mean, that's the thing, and we're going to be talking more about the 49ers over the course of the next 2 weeks. But the idea that we know fairly early whether or not that running game is going to work. And if it's working, it's not like you're going to have a solution for it. It's either going to work or it's not. And if it's working in the first quarter, it's going to be working all the way through to the fourth quarter. And if you fall behind that, very difficult to come back.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.